Welcome to the GOATs, where we go deeper than just the splits in training and into the minds and philosophies of the world's best trail and endurance athletes to find out what they can teach us about this little thing that we call life. I hope you enjoy.
Today, I was lucky enough to sit down with one of my best friends, Mike Del GUIDICE. For anyone who knows him knows what a great guy he is. But the reason I wanted to sit down and have this chat with Mike is because I think he's someone that a lot of people can take something from. I think when you hear his story, there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to be able to relate to. Lots of hours working, a wife and a partner, kids newly coming into the scene with that as well, and dedicated towards the marathon and training to be the best version of himself as an athlete as well. He's got a lot on his plate, but he's, for some reason, is able to make it all work and put it all together. And today, I get to sit down with him and I got to chat a little bit more about how he makes all of that work. In his marathoning, he was an athlete who, when he first did his marathon, he ran about a 3:20. And just this past year, he was able to run a 2:44. Over years of training and dedicating himself to the process and being patient, he's been able to improve year to year to year to year, while sometimes working up to 14 to 16 hours in a day. But yet he still seems to make it work. I think today, the conversation that me and Gooch have, a lot of you guys are going to be able to take something into your own life, how he sees training, how he sees his life. And for him, it's going to be a lot about the revelry, finding fun, laughter, and enjoyment in almost anything that we can do in our lives. And so here is my chat with Mike Del GUIDICE. Welcome. Mike, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Quentin. How you doing, man?
And excited to be here with you. For those listening, Mike is one of my best friends over in Canada. I won't go too deep into the intro. I'll give him a chance to do that. But I'm very excited to have you on, man. This is an exciting opportunity for us to share some thoughts. We have some pretty awesome conversations constantly, just whenever we do get the chance to call and chat with each other. So I'm excited to share a little bit of insight towards yourself. So quickly, man, for people who don't know you, share a little bit about yourself. Who's Mike?
That's a great question. Who is Mike? Mike is maybe a similar version of Quentin. And
Okay.
for people who know you, you're not alone in Canada. I think that we both grew up very similar, just young people who loved sports, loved activity, and someone that just lived every day. You got the Adidas all day. I dream about sports, and it was just fun. So I'm someone who loves to be active, loves to move every single day. Had a lot of amazing journeys and memories throughout university that we won't be able to talk about on this podcast. But that's okay.
It's a different story, different conversation.
Exactly. But I'd say that right now I'm both a business owner and a marathoner, aspiring to get faster and faster, and also a new husband and a new dad, and trying to be really good at all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And I guess, to give people a little bit of an insight to yourself, tell us a little bit more about, because now you're taking on all of these things, right? Like, yeah, your new dad, your new partner, you're a part owner of a pretty big, gym within the Ottawa area in Canada. And how do you get yourself to a point like this? Who was Michael Del GUIDICE when he was a kid, and what was he like, and what kind of, attributes and characteristics do you think led yourself to be in this point right now where you are?
It's a great question. I think that there's people to thank and people to blame for it. I think that growing up, again, that love, that passion for sports definitely came from my parents. I think both of my parents are very active individuals and always encouraged me to be active. And I was fortunate to find some sports that I loved. And the two main ones were hockey and soccer, which are similar to yours, but that kind of branched out as I grew up into some golf, some tennis, some Olympic style wrestling, some running, a little bit of everything in there. But I think in all sports, I was always just the small kid. I was the smallest guy in the team, always, both from like height and stature. And I feel like at a very young age, I realized if I'm going to be able to compete, if I'm going to be able to hang with the big dogs, I'm going to have to find a way to work harder than everyone else. And so I think that from an early age, it was really clear to me that, hey, I'm not going to be the biggest guy on the field or biggest guy on the ice, but there's nothing like I can't control that, right? I can't go to bed and pray to God that I'm going to be 6'5" in the morning. But in terms of controllable variables, work ethic is something that I think my parents preached to me pretty early is like, if you want to do anything with your life, you gotta work for it. You gotta be the one who wants it, the hungriest on the ice, hungriest on the field. And so I think that was my only route. I didn't have anything else to go based off of. It was either work hard or be the participant on the sideline cheering other people on. So I think that from an early age, my parents really instilled a really strong work ethic in me. And that carried on from sports into school and then into my work life. And I remember being in university and having a job and on top of school, on top of a social life, on top of trying to stay active in the gym and coming home from my job and my dad be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, I don't know. I just worked 8 to 4. He'd be like, go get a job. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. And so I'd go get another job. And so Monday to Friday, I would be at school. I would train and try to socialize as much as I could. And then your Saturday was, okay, I'm working in the deli from 8 to 4, coming home, showering, changing, and then going to Moxie's and working at a restaurant from 5:30 until midnight. And that was just the standard. And then you get deeper into university. It's like, all right, balance that and now add a government office job in on top of that. And it feel like it was always just like work, 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 work. Like there should always be something to do and the sleep when you're dead mentality. And I think that it taught me a lot of valuable things in terms of like anything you want in this world. If you put in the work, you can get there. There's efficiencies that some people have where they could probably achieve more in a lesser amount of time. But I think that just early on from my parents and my surroundings, it was just like, be the hardest working person and good things can happen. And I think through numerous occasions in my life, I've seen the positive outcome of putting in the work. And it's only reinforced to continue doing that. I know I have a lovely wife and kids at home that would love for me to work a little bit less. And so I'm trying to find that perfect balance. But in my life, all I've ever known is to work hard. And it's brought a lot of good to me.
One of the reasons why I brought you on here, because one of the things I love is about you as a friend is like you explain that picture there, right? Of where, you got school, you got work, you put more work, you're stacking all this stuff. But from the outside looking in, that's not really you. Like, I understand that those things were there, but that wouldn't be the picture that I would put in my head. Oh, Mike, the guy who's just working all the time and that's all he kind of does, right? Because we would see you out in almost any opportunity that you had, any little hole in the time or wherever it was to like socialize or to do a workout or to, have a couple drinks or whatever it was, you would like find that hole and you would prioritize and you would make it. And so from the outside looking in, it was like, Mike can't be that busy because he's doing all of these other things. But like, in your world, it sounds like you were very busy and it was always just kind of go, go, go. So I see a lot of people, right, who in that time or those holes, it's like, I've just got to maybe do nothing, right? And I've got to just kind of like sit down on the couch and do nothing. What do you think makes you different that instead of just doing nothing, you were trying to fill that holes with almost more things? Where does that come from?
You know what? Truthfully, this is maybe a good, maybe a bad thing. It depends on what lens you want to look at. I don't feel comfortable doing nothing. I get very uncomfortable sitting still, and especially in silence. And we have a spa here in Ottawa, Le Nordique, or I guess in Quebec. But there's a few times like we'll go and you just sit in a sauna and you sit quiet and relaxed. And like people are like, oh, go for 10 minutes. And I'll start a little timer. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be 10 minutes already. And I'll look at my timer and it's been 35 seconds. And so I'm just someone who struggles a lot to sit still, to stay quiet. I thrive off of moving and I feel good. I feel at my best when I am moving. And so I try and really put myself in positions where I don't ever have to not move.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you think that's something that was like something you always would have been like, or do you think that was instilled from like your dad constantly getting you to work and constantly getting to do things and be involved in sport?
I think that was innate. I think when I look back on my childhood and when I have conversations with my parents about it, I think I was always very high energy and just loved to move. The hyper kid, the kid that they would call the energizer body, and it would just go, 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 go. And I loved it. And I feel like when I was awake, I would be moving at top speed all the time. And then when I was asleep, I was an Olympic caliber sleeper. So
It's a great trait to have, isn't it?
it's absolutely. And so I don't know, I look at even in my professional career, like how things have kind of evolved. Like I worked in the government for 3 years and it was an office job. And it blew my mind that I would work an 8-hour shift from 7 to 3 and I would leave the office exhausted, just drained. And I felt like I needed to take a nap after work before going to the gym because I had no energy at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wasn't very happy. I wasn't very fulfilled with it. And I left against the blessing of my dad. I left the government to work in a gym. And it was for significantly less money, significantly less long-term security. But I would work from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m. every day. And I had so much fun. It was fulfilling. It was uplifting. It was energizing. And so it was something where I got normalized to like 14, 15, 16-hour days. And I would finish a shift on top of the world, fired up, so pumped up. And it really showed me a lot about me and my battery pack, the things that charge it, the things that drain it. And so I think at this point in my life, I have a really good idea of the things that charge me up and the things that drain me. And I've really tried to cater my life to pretty much only do things that charge me up.
Yeah. And I think too, going back to that idea of like, choosing that job that maybe didn't have the security, would you say though too that the potential though was probably higher to get more out of it, even though at that moment maybe the security wasn't there? Would you say that the job of PTing and stuff had like a bigger range of potential to kind of go bigger if you put in the work and the time?
At that point, I didn't know and I didn't care.
Yeah.
I wasn't money motivated. Like to me, the most important thing is movement. Like if I can move, if I can be happy, if I can be healthy, anything beyond that is secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I knew I loved being active. I loved helping others be active and help them feeling better and being a part of their day. And oftentimes would get to be the best part of their day. And so that was a privilege that I really took a lot of pride in. And I didn't care how much that financially kicked back. I didn't care how much I made. I think a cool thing is along the way, I felt so in love with this job, this career, this path. And I didn't expect it to become as awesome as it is. But it's just exceeded my expectations and presented me with opportunities that have changed my life far beyond what I ever thought possible.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you leaned into something that you just loved doing, and now great things have happened from it.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for it. And there's not a single day that I don't wake up excited to get to come to work.
How awesome is that? You can't ask for much more than that, can you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I remember there's a Sidney Crosby Tim Hortons commercial where it's his voiceover, and it's like, wouldn't it be cool to wake up every day and get to do the thing you love to do? And I was like, yeah, I get to do that.
yeah.
And for the people that maybe were skeptical that this could become something as great as it has, I look at it and say, I'm so glad I didn't listen. And I'm so glad I kind of bet in myself and just followed my heart. And
Yeah.
I'm in a really good place because of it.
Oh man, that's awesome. Makes me happy to hear, obviously. And, and it's about, you got to know who to listen to, right? Is a big thing sometimes, because there's people in the world who, maybe they think they have their best, your best needs in heart. But sometimes you have to be able to wade through that, right? And find the people who really are thinking about Mike and what he wants and what makes him happy, right? And, we learned pretty quick in the world that, happiness is definitely doesn't have a money symbol beside it.
Yeah. I remember a third year class we got to take. It was a coaching class with, I think his name was Andre. He was a legend. He was a French guy, but he was a great teacher. And he talked about how a quality of a leader is someone who challenges the norm. And there's the people who just follow the pre-cut path that's been paved for them, and they just follow it, and they know they will get to their destination. And then you have the people who are a bit more innovative, a bit more challenging of the norms, and say, you know what, I'm going to carve my own path, and it's going to be as amazing as I want to make it. And I think that you and I are both people who are not afraid to beat by our own drum, carve our own path, and I think it's taken us to some pretty cool places.
I you know what, I was literally walking through a coffee shop yesterday, and I took a picture of this quote on the wall. And so when you were saying that, I was like, oh, this works perfectly. But I was just sitting in this coffee shop in Katoomba after the car was broken down, so I had to hike all the way into Katoomba and pick up 2 rotors for my car, like big rotors, like probably 30 kilos or 60 pounds for you Canadians, and was carrying it in my backpack uphill to like get to the top of this mountain so I could get a bus back home, because we only got the one car. But I was in this coffee shop and I saw this little sign in the back, and it, like what you said right there, it just like for some reason has like linked up so perfectly. But what was written on the back was, do not believe in anything simply because you've heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is written in religious books. Do not believe anything merely on the authority of teachers and elders. Do not believe in tradition because they've been handed down for generations. But after observation, analysis, when you find anything that agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and the benefit of one and all, then accept it and live by it.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. I like that.
And I was reading that. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that when someone's young, you go based off of the values and beliefs of those around you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older and older, you start to develop your own moral compass, and you establish your own values and beliefs. And you can only hope that your actions align with those values and beliefs. And listening to your first podcast, it was cool to hear you say that, like, to you, being in the mountains and being available to your family were things at the top of your list, and all actions needed to be in line to serve those values to you. And so for every single person, what's important to me doesn't have to be important to someone else. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my hope would be that people's actions are in line with what's important to them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing, right? In this world right now, we see all these people that, maybe have that success or achieve this thing that maybe it's similar to what we want or whatever, but the way to get there is going to be completely different. And so trying to say, hey, I'm just going to follow this person, do exactly what they do, chances are that's going to create some resistance at some point, right? And I think that's the point of this podcast, is I want to give people the opportunity to hear from all these different people and not say, hey, I'm going to do what Mike does, But I love this aspect of what Mike does, or the way he looks at this in a specific way. And that's something that I can take and maybe help navigate me towards that job that makes me happy, or that, hobby or activity that I get to do with my friends or family, or whatever it is. Right. And so that's why that quote, right, is so cool. Cause it's like, don't really take anything full on, but understand it, listen to it, and it might have its right place and right moment in your life at a certain time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it leans into the concept, like there's so many different ways to achieve success. I think that success looks different to everyone, but also the way to get to that point of success can be achieved in so many different ways. And I think the online world, people have to believe in the product they're selling. And when people are online and they tell you that their way is the only way or the best way, it makes you believe if you're not doing it that way, you must be doing something wrong. And I think that you're going to disprove that over time with all of your podcasts, people that come join you, and to show you that, like, hey, all of these people have achieved a level of success in their respective life, and probably all uniquely different.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, that's almost like, I don't know if you've ever thought it this way, but I actually find like the thought of what is actually success to be scary, because you could look at something like, imagine if you walked across someone who's on the street and they have nothing, right? Like they have nothing around them, and they looked at you and went, I'm as happy as I could ever be, right? Like
Yeah.
imagine if they were just the happiest person in the world, and they were so calm and peaceful and enlightened in the decisions they made in their life, and they had nothing. That's kind of like scary, right? In our society, because we see success as these things that you have or have achieved or whatever. But like maybe to another person, success is literally nothing. The ability to just be themselves and be their own person and not have anything around them, right? And that's a scary
Yeah.
thought in our society, because we always put these big titles and tags on what success is, right? But if you learn that, like, technically, none of those titles or tags could even have anything to do with your success, right? Then it's like, oh shit, where do I actually find this success now, or this happiness, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And did you ever get to take a class with Terry Orlick?
Oh, I think I might have had one or two. Yeah, I think I had my one, but I was
So
terrible at listening in class.
he was awesome. So he was our sports psychology prof, but we took a class with him called Quality of Life. And I remember we had a project where we had to search for highlights, and he gave you this clicker, and you had to click it every time something good happened in your day, and you had it for pretty much a full month. And early on, you're having a hard time finding good things. You're like, shit, like what was good in my day today? And like you maybe get 3, 4, 5 clicks. And as the class kind of unfolded over time, you realize that the littlest things can make you so happy and be such a highlight. And something as simple as, like, I'd show up 5 minutes late for class, and I get to class and I'm dreading the fact that I'm going to have to walk through everyone to find a seat in the back. And then you look over and your buddy saved a seat for you. And it's like, this is perfect. This is the highlight. Click just like that. And by the end, you'd have literally hundreds upon hundreds of clicks every single day. And so it's special. And it just shows you that, like, there's so much good out there. And the better you become at identifying and searching for it, the happier life is going to be, I think.
Yeah. Something made me laugh there, and it was you're such an optimistic person, and you always like see the best in everything around you. So like I'd imagine like you getting in the flow of getting lots of clicks in there. Like I just picture you like having a day where you're like, I've got 110 clicks. Like look at all these great moments that happen. But what I find funny too is, like, because you are so optimistic and you always find a way to try and make the best of kind of any situation, when something truly upsets you, it's so obvious. Because there's like this switch of like, that's something that I really just can't be happy about. And you can always see your personality of like that, 99% of the time he's like making the best. And then when that thing happens that you're like, nah, this ain't for me. It's like, I'm out of here. That's it. The tables have turned. What to you flips that script for you? Because I've seen those moments where you're like, nah, this is not for me. I can't be a part of this, or, whatever it is. Where does that line come of like, trying to make things work and like, no, I can't do that now. Like that's not for me.
What gets me going? Like what gets me angry?
Well, no, just like, because you are most of the time always trying to make everything work, right? But at what point do you just need to go, I got to stop trying to make this work and I just need to move on, right?
It's been 32 years and I have yet to find that answer. I think that I really struggle to say no. I think I'm a people pleaser, and it fulfills me to be able to help them.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things in my day to day, I probably take on more than I can handle. And sometimes I'll look at the day and be like, so we're gonna eat never. And so I don't know. Every day I wake up and I probably have 15, 16 hours worth of things and not that much time to do it. And I still have not, like, I don't want to be on here and pretend like I found the recipe. Like, this is what you got to do. It's like, I still take on more every single day than I should. And sometimes that gets to the point where 8 p.m. hits and I still have to go for another 15-kilometer run. And I still have to find a way to get three more 1,000 calories into my day. And that's not always easy. So I haven't found a way. I haven't discovered how to flip that switch yet. It's like, I interpret that almost as like, how do I set the boundaries?
Yeah.
And truthfully, I haven't.
Yeah.
My wife has been pretty helpful in terms of giving me some boundaries. So like I won't work on Sundays anymore, which is positive. I work every second Saturday now, which is more realistic than it used to be. And I have one day a week that I go home early unless I'm filming an unbelievably amazing podcast.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'd say my boundaries are gray, and it's a ongoing process. I'm sure if we met here in 10 years from now, I'd probably give you the same answer.
Yeah. Well, that brings me into like the next kind of idea that I want to, try and get people to understand about you is, you work, like the thing that's always blown my mind about you is like you work crazy hours. Like you said before, 14 to 16 hours. And for anyone who's like, oh, does he really do it? I'm telling you guys, he does. like he is working from the, what is it? They call it in Australia from a sparrow's fart, I think they call it. He works from a sparrow's fart into, I'm sure Australians have some other abbreviation for what the dusk is, but from dawn to dusk. And the amazing thing about it is in this journey of working those hours, you've always maintained good friendships, but now on top of that, you're now trying to still train. You've become a husband, and then you've taken on 2 kids pretty much as like, a dad in that process. And shout out to Kelly, you legend, if you listen to this.
I promised her we'd talk about her today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, how do you, and the thing I've noticed is these things, I'm sure, and we're probably going to find out a little bit more, have made things more challenging. How have you been able to add these things in without losing other aspects of the life that you already had?
It's a great question. And I think that it's been a process. As a personal trainer and as a gym owner, so my day pretty much starts at 5 a.m. every single day. And that's just getting up, getting ready, being at the gym before 6 a.m. And just from 6 a.m. on, it's either an hour of class or an hour in PT. And when you're here, usually at the Christmas holidays, you'll see that if I tell you I got a break at 10, to go for a run, it means I'm there. I'm with you from 10 to 11, but at 11 o'clock, I'm back to work. Like it's so every hour is usually something. And and I remember early on in my career when I used to plan out my schedule, the perfect schedule, I would budget exercise time. So I'd budget, let's say 2 hours, whether they were consecutive or not, 2 hours of exercise time for me a day. So if I worked from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m., I would at least guarantee myself those 2 hours. But then you start to realize when you're in the service industry, there could be moments where people are on vacation. There could be a moment where someone is sick, someone has a conflicting appointment, someone has to take care of a sick child at home. There's so many things that can come up where it's not impossible just from a law of averages that if you have 14 sessions booked, something's going to come up with someone.
Mhm.
And so if you get a couple of those together in the same day, well, all of a sudden 2 hours to myself is perfect. You get 4 hours to yourself and it's like, well, this is inefficient. I'm here for a lot of the day and I'm not generating that much money in that period of time.
Mhm.
So I started betting on the law of averages and basically would book 14 straight hours of people, knowing that not all 14 would happen.
Mhm.
And before, when I used to budget my exercise time blocked off and someone would cancel, I would get pissed because I was like, shit, that's money I lost out on.
Mhm.
But as time went on, if I book the entire day, well, if someone is away on vacation, I'm not mad at them for going on vacation. I'm pumped because my exercise time just presented itself. And so today, same thing. My 10 o'clock is on a vacation out east.
Mhm.
I'm so happy that they're having that family time. And I'm so happy because I got 7K in at 10 a.m. today.
Yeah.
And so I'll wake up in a day, oftentimes having no idea when I'm going to be active.
Mm.
It's going to present itself in real time, and I've got to roll with it and just take it when it's available. So today I got 7K in earlier. My daily total is 15. So after this, I'm going for an 8K run
Amazing.
with my lovely wife.
Well, we better stop here and let you go. No.
But I think that that's been the thing. It's like in terms of finding that balance, it's being able to immerse opportunity or finding opportunity whenever it exists. And even if that's 30 minutes, like early on in my career, I used to let windows pass by and then I'd beat myself over it, be like, that was my window. I should have taken it. And now it's automatic. It's like, it's non-negotiable. It's like, this is it. I know another time might not present itself. It's either take it now or not get it done. And that's not a desirable option.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And so now I guess we can kind of start weaving in the running aspect of this now too, right? So,
Yeah.
You've been on this journey, and I think you kind of started maybe a little bit before me. You kind of started to do these little like 5-10Ks. I remember like in uni, that you're like, you know what, I'm going to go out, I'm going to try and crush these, 5 to 10K runs. At least this is like the front end of my knowledge of like you when we kind of met. And you just, had these goals of like, cool, I'm going to do this 10K this year. Next year I'm going to try and beat that 10K time. It kind of started off as that. And now, I mean, what's cool, and I remember I was actually did you make a post of your marathon times? I was trying to find that. I don't know why I couldn't find that before this. But it's been like, I don't even know how many years now. 10 years? You can answer this better.
So what's cool is this October, I'm going back to Toronto waterfront and it'll be 10 years since my first marathon and this will be my 15th.
Yeah, there you go. And it was like, what was so cool was every marathon, there was a couple like very similar times, but it was like just a positive trend, right? Of a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, like almost every single one with a couple little, like maybe similar times in there, but no drastic fallbacks or anything like that. It was just this slow, gradual, beautiful little trend of marathon times. And I think that's something that a lot of people would aspire to be like, hey, if I could take a couple minutes off my marathon time every year, like that would be awesome, right? And people would be stoked with
Yeah.
that. And so tell us a little bit more about what you think created that picture for you, or that beautiful little trend, and why it's so inspiring and motivating for you to continue on that trend and that journey.
I appreciate that a lot. It's, you know what, running has been such a blessing in my life. And again, growing up a competitive kid and playing some competitive sport, usually like it's pretty common here. You graduate high school and you just stop playing competitive sport. You might join a beer league team, but it's just not the same. And I think that my first year of university, I just worked out in the gym and I felt like I was missing something. Like there's such a void in my life from sport and competing. And my mom would always sign me up for Ottawa Race Weekend, which is our city's like big race. And so they've got the 5, 10, half, and full. And so I just started doing the 5. And I was pretty good at it. First time I did it, I was probably like maybe like 27 minutes. And the next time I did it was probably 25 minutes. And it just got faster and faster. And eventually I caught wind of like, cracking 20 minutes is a big deal. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And so over time, eventually, I was able to run a sub 20-minute 5K. And I was like, hey, let's attack the 10K. And so signed up for some 10Ks. And same thing. I was like, first one I did maybe 44, 45 minutes. And I was like, all right, let's see if I can hit sub 40. And so just race after race, training after training, I was able to get to the point where I went under 40 minutes. And then I went to the half marathon. And the half marathon, that same idea, that 4 minute per kilometer was just a captivating time, which would bring you to 124 half. And I was able to do that. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, we're looking at the marathon, and like you hear the word marathon, and the first thing you think of is Boston. Like for me, I was like, I'm going to do Boston. I didn't even know about the world majors. I was like, I want to do Boston. And like growing up in Ottawa and running on the canal, you see people running in their blue and yellow jackets. And it's just something that like is larger than life. And so I wanted to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So I started training for my first marathon, and I trained myself. I coached myself. I prepared well, and I was handed a very thick slice of humble pie that day because I went in confident. I was like, oh, I got this. And at 30 kilometers, if you would ask me, I'd be like, yeah, I got this. If you would have asked me at 35 kilometers, I didn't have it. And I was on pace for like a 3:05 marathon, which would have been a BQ at that time. And I think I ended at a 3:31, like literally crawling and standing still in the last few kilometers. It was awful, and it wrecked me. It destroyed me. And for 2 years after, I didn't want to run. Like it was just so, there was such a massive disconnect between how well I thought I prepared and how well I thought I was going to do, and how hard it was and how awful I felt like I did. And if I held a steady pace and hit a 3:31, I would have been happy. But to hold a 4:20 average for 30 something kilometers and then crash and burn and have like 11-minute, 12-minute, 15-minute kilometers at the end, I was like, I hate my life and I hate running and I never want to do this again.
So what got you back up on the horse then? What was it? Just the feeling of like, I've got to nail this thing?
You know what's funny? It's my parents' fault, and it's in the best way possible. So when I went to Queens and did my master's there, I was a full-time student, a part-time athlete, and a part-time degenerate. And so you'd been there.
Time, buddy, more than part-time.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd been there for a couple of those nights, and I just drank as if my liver was the punching bag Rocky Balboa was just going after. And when I came home, I had no money. I had no job, And my parents were very clear. It's like, you can live at home rent free and grocery free. You don't have to pay for a single thing, but you cannot continue to party the way you have been. And I didn't have any money to bet against them. I couldn't say, no, I'm gonna do my own way. Like I was in a position where I had no choice but to abide by the rules of the house I was living under. And so I was like, you know what? 4 months, let's go no drinking and let's train for a marathon. And in that 4 months, so many amazing things happened to me that just snowballed into something bigger. And I got a job. The amount of professional success that I had in those 4 months without drinking, I just felt like I was able to pour so much into the job and saw a lot of growth in a very short period of time. From a health perspective, it felt like whenever I would always do 2-a-days in university, and it felt like whatever I did on the weekend would be like 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back whenever I'd party. And it was wild to see how much progress I could get when I just compounded good day after good day after good day with little to no setbacks from self-inflicted partying. And that was cool. I thought another thing that was really cool is that I thought I'd lose all my friends. If I don't party, they're not going to want to hang out with me. And it couldn't have been the more opposite. I think that my friendships with my friends became more meaningful, and it just reinforced all of these amazing things. And what was cool, I took 20 minutes off my marathon time. So I finished this race and I think, wow, all of these amazing things have happened to me. And I hate myself a heck of a lot less now. And it all came from not being allowed to party, or else I don't have a place to live and a means to put food in the fridge.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really powerful to go through. And then that led to the next race and the next race and the next race. And so I went from 3:31 to 3:11 and then just kept doing race after race. And I tried to do 2 races a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. I would go 4 months all in, like hard training, committed, little to no drinking unless it was a special occasion. And then the 2 months off, unstructured physical activity. I could be active every day, but I can do whatever I want to do. And if my friends want to go out, I'm not going to beat myself up over tearing a rug. And so that over time just got better and better. And eventually it got to the point where like I was actually really close to qualifying for Boston in this 3-hour barrier. And we had countless conversations together where it's like, hey, like, what's it going to do? And to me, like going through school, I always was a big believer, okay, VO2 max we know is a strong predictor of race day performance. And VO2 max is most sensitive to time and intensity. So you're either going to get faster by going longer or going harder. And so I really latched onto the concept of high volume training. And I just started tracking my weekly mileage. How many kilometers a week am I training? And how can I progress that over time safely? And so my first marathon, I started off at 30 and peaked at 70 kilometers a week. And just every marathon that went well, I would add 5K to the base number. And so the next marathon, I would try and do 75 with a starting of 35 and just build it and build it and build it. And I got impatient and greedy at times and thought that adding 5 to 80 meant 100-kilometer weeks, and pay the price. And what's cool is that over time, my capacity to be able to handle more load per week increased. And as a result, I started seeing my marathon times getting faster and faster and faster. And it just got to the point where I was able to go sub 3 for the first time. And I thought, oh my God, this is so cool. But that milestone kind of just like blew past because I was like, out, forget about sub 3. I want Boston. And the goal had shifted, right? I ran 2:58, applied to Boston, and I got rejected. It wasn't fast enough. It's like, no worries, I'll get faster. Ran 2:57 the next year, applied to Boston, not good enough, rejected. The next year, I ran a 2:54, not good enough, rejected. So 3 years in a row, I get rejected from Boston after doing what I thought was enough. And what's so hard about Boston is that you can cross the finish line believing in your heart that it's enough, just to wait months and months to find out it wasn't enough. And so I remember running the St. Lawrence Marathon, running a 2:54 and being like, there's no way this doesn't get me in.
Mhm.
And then September rolls around and I find out I ran 5.5 minutes under and the cutoff was 7.5 minutes under, kind of thing, right? And to just be told time and time again, good job, but that's not good enough, that's not going to get you in, I think would discourage a lot of people. And it kind of just lit a fire under me to be like, all I know is to work harder. I'm going to keep building, I'm going to keep working. And then the next race, I went 2:48. And that got me into Boston. And that was really special. Like, just to keep at it, keep going, and eventually get there made me so happy. And it was persistence and just slowly, consistently stacking good year after good year of just trying to build that capacity, build that tolerance. And what was really cool is that in my last build, my most recent build for the Boston Marathon, my starting week mileage was 80 kilometers a week. And my final week, my peak week, was 150 kilometers per week. And it felt awesome. And I was able to throw down a 2:44 at Boston, which a lot of people said, like, you don't PB Boston. And especially with the elevation profile, they'll be like, oh, you don't negative slip Boston. Well, it's like, well, I ran a 124 first half and a 120 second half uphill. So you can like where we talk about how there's not necessarily just one way to do it. I did it my way. It worked. And it was crazy to think that my week one training was higher than my peak week of my first marathon.
Yeah, that's insane.
It happened over time.
I honestly think you need to create a little like visual of this across the years with your training blocks. I think that would be so cool.
I have it. It exists.
Do?
Oh, I do. Absolutely. I have it all.
Oh, I love it. Send that through after, please, because I definitely want to put that up on a little post for people and stuff just to see that progression. Because I think you've created periodization art with that training, with the way that you 30 to 70, kind of 40 to 75, like 50 to, like in a world where there is so much chaos and craziness around us, training like that is you say you don't have the recipe. That is close to the recipe for success over time, right? Because you're giving your body time to adapt. You're not overstressing it in a way of trying to run the 80Ks constantly for the, forever, or the 100Ks every single week. You're coming down, you're recovering, and then you're building back up. But the next build's a little bit higher, right? And then you take the off time and you come back and a little bit more of a build. And it's just, like you said, by it just got easier and easier and easier, and it's just fit naturally into your life. And I just think that's like, it's so beautiful and it's so cool to watch that and be on the other side of it.
I appreciate that. I think that there were tears along the way. Again, Kelly will laugh at me because nothing makes me tear up more than sports. And it's because it tugs on a different heartstring. And the years that I got rejected, like the year that I ran 258 and 257, I wasn't surprised that I didn't get in, but it still sucked. Mm-hmm. It still kicked to the balls. And the year that I ran a 254 and got rejected, that was probably the saddest moment that running has ever brought to my life. And I just remember that moment where I found out in September and my next race was in November. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I've got a month and a half left to build. And I was, I can use this, I can either be destroyed by this and let this define me, or I can use this as motivation and put down a performance where no one can ever tell me I'm not good enough. And there's going to be some things that are in your control. There are going to be some things that are out of your control. You can't control the weather. You can't control illness around you the week before a race. There's some things that we've had races like the pandemic. You can't control when a race gets canceled because of a pandemic, right? There's some stuff that's just so out of your control, but you can control your work ethic and your attitude.
Yeah.
And I think in so many areas of my life, bringing a good work ethic and a positive attitude to any situation I've ever been thrown into has only led to positive outcomes.
Mm. And it's a great lesson too, in the fact of like, a lot of the times, and I'm sure we've both been victim of this too at some point in our life, of like being so close and quitting right before we were almost there, right? And I think it happens to so many people, right? And it's like in that moment where you didn't make it, you didn't make it, you didn't make it. There was easily enough momentum there for you to say in your head, like, oh, I don't know if I can cut another 4 minutes off this. Look how much time I've already put into it. You know, all these things that could start, you know, getting into your brain and your mind and telling you to, you know, oh, maybe I just need to take a step back from this marathon running. And then you stop building that consistent years, and then you plateau at that 3 hour mark or whatever. And, you know, and you never get to that next level. But not quitting, right, is what allowed you to, what was it, the next marathon that you did all of a sudden qualify?
It was, yeah. Well, so after the 254, so I ran that in April. In September, I applied. In September, I got rejected. And then that November, so I ran the 248, 249, I forget. But my wife ran her first marathon there as well.
Yeah.
And actually ran a Boston qualifying time in her first race as well. And I think we were great motivation for each other, great support system. And it was just something that I showed, like, for both myself, but all those around me. Like, I'm grateful for the community that we have here, but I see myself as not just an owner, but a role model. I want to lead by example and show people how to respond to adversity. And adversity is going to look different to everyone. Mine was trying your hardest and being told it wasn't good enough. And for whether it's an athlete that I train here or the boys at home, if they ever try their hardest and get told that's not good enough, I want them to see me in those positions and say, hey, I get it. I've been there. And you got to basically reflect, take a look at yourself and say, what am I doing well? What are things that I could maybe refine? Because I don't believe in blowing up the ship. When someone's got a plan and they completely blow it up and do something completely different, I don't think that that's the thing. It's like, it's usually just tinkering with one or two things that can make all the difference in the world. And so I remember when we ran Sydney together, we ran 258, which I would consider that a tough course from an elevation profile and the weather that we had on that given day. And 258 to go under sub 3 at that course, I was happy with, but it wasn't enough to get into Boston. But I remember a conversation we had with one of your buddies from a run club who had ran a 230 something. And he was telling me that he was doing 160 kilometer weeks. And all I could think of is like, hey, if you want to run in the 230s, you got to be probably north of 150 kilometers.
Yeah.
And you got to probably do that more than just once. You probably have to string together years and years of build, breakdown, build, breakdown, build, breakdown. And I think that's what's happened to me, is consistently just trying to progressively overload the system. And the numbers say it's worked. And I have no intention of slowing down anytime soon.
And another thing, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what I saw too as one of your big breakthroughs is because when you would do your off periods, and I know we talked about this, right? Before, when you would do them off, it was almost like fully off, right? Where it was like you were hardly running any Ks. And so what I've seen, like in that trend, is you were getting these slight improvements, but the moment you took your offs and went, well, I'm going to keep running, it's still going to be less, but I'm going to make sure that I'm still running through that block. all of a sudden it was like, boom, 150, 154, 144, 148. Like all of a sudden your PBs just like started, going through the roof.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd say a big part of that was like still keeping the consistency of at least running in your off periods, even if it wasn't as much of volume as your peak stuff, but not like completely letting go of running.
No, and you're absolutely right. So like I'll often track my monthly mileage, and monthly mileage will kind of differ depending on like when your deload week is, when your races falls in the month. But it wouldn't be uncommon for my monthly mileage in the beginning of a 4-month build to be around 200 to 250 kilometers. And then it would go towards your 350, 450, and then your final month might tap into the 500 kilometer month. And I'm not kidding you, my off used to be under 50 kilometers for the entirety of the next month.
Yeah.
And so I'd get 2 months where combined, I would hit 100 kilometers after just doing 500 kilometers in the month. And so what I've tried to do is say, okay, my off is going to be substantially less, but not nothing. And so now it'll be, I think both my months in the off season this year were like 140, which is not record breaking, but it's something to keep the wheels in motion that I find now when I hit week 1, when I hit week 2, I don't feel like I'm starting from scratch. And it feels like I'll hit the end of training block 2, and it feels like I have the fitness of what training block 4 of the prior build felt like.
Mm. Yeah. And you just get to ride that wave and that momentum now into the next one. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. So, I mean, we've kind of touched upon it a little bit going into like, the kind of the tougher moments of like, being shut down kind of 3 times. Has there been anything else in this process that's like really made you think, really, made things difficult, training difficult, life, whatever it is? Has been any other moments that you've really struggled through certain things?
That's a good question. I would say it's really just like balance of life, and trying to keep everyone as happy as possible. And when I'm at work, I try to give my 100% at work. When I'm at home, I try to give my 100% at home. And when I'm training, I try to give my 100% to training. And sometimes something takes a hit. And I hate to say it, but like oftentimes the thing that takes a hit is my family.
Mhm.
And I know how family oriented you are, and I appreciate and value that about you. There's moments where like on a Tuesday night, if I'm done at 5 p.m. and that's my early night, I'm so excited to go home and see my wife and kids and just hang out, just laugh with each other. And in this industry, well, if the trainer that I had scheduled to teach the 5 and the 6 is sick or on vacation and there's no one else to teach it, well, it falls on me. Class is not happening, not happening. Like the show must go on. And so in those moments, I'll text Kel and be like, I'm so sorry. I hate that I have to put you in this position. I'm not coming home anytime soon. There's work that's got to get done.
Mhm.
And those are the challenges. Or again tonight, where I told her, it's like yesterday I was able to find 2 breaks in my day to get my mileage in. Today I was aware that there was probably only going to be 1, and so I texted her and I said, hey, like I'm probably going to have about 8K to do tonight. I'd love if you join me. If not, I totally understand. But I'd say the guilt that I carry of knowing that the demand of my job and the demand of my hobby pull away sometimes from family time, and that I wear and I'll be out there. And I think we've talked about before, like we both like to golf, but golf is something that takes 4 to 5 hours out of my day. And with how much time work and training already take out of my family time, I cannot possibly justify taking more away from that. So I think that's the biggest adversity I have is carrying around the guilt that I would love to give my family more time and energy. And that's not always the case. There's no one to blame other than myself. And it's an ongoing process to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to do things with them, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. Like if I brought one of the boys or Kelly on a run with me, I feel less guilty about doing that activity because it feels like we actually get to spend quality time together.
Yeah.
But that would probably be the only adversity that I feel like I really face in my day to day is the guilt of not having the time that I truly believe I would love to give to something. But at the end of the day, I've made a commitment and a promise to the business that is tough to not, you can't walk away from that. And I think that over time, long term, I can build up a team strong enough and big enough where I don't have to worry about those things as often. So instead of it happening once a month, it might happen once every 4 months. But there's going to be growing pains in getting there.
Yeah, of course, there always is. Anything worthwhile is going to require your efforts, right? Yeah, that's awesome though. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something too that I reckon a lot of people can relate to. I don't think you're alone on that one in many regards, especially like, that's probably a pretty common, I'm sure there's a lot of females who also experience that too at times now, especially ones who are, hard workers and are, doing a lot, but it's probably a pretty big male thing too as well, right? That aspect of like, trying to provide for the family, for the, males who are in that position of maybe being the main provider. And then still wanting to, maybe hang out with friends or do running or do whatever. But then, I could say for most, like, myself, like you do want to be there for your partners, right? And that guilt does get carried around. Like if you're a decent human being, you want to be there to support, your partner and your kids and stuff. And it's about, finding the balance. And it's like, where do you sacrifice certain things? Like even, the discussions we've had of like hanging out, whenever I come back from Canada, right? There's times where you're like, no, like, I've got to hang out with Kelly tonight, right? Like as much as like I want to be there for you, man, right? And I've seen the sacrifices on both sides, right? Where you're like, no, hey, cool, I'm going for this run at this time, but then like, hey, man, like I want to be there, I want to hang out with like you and Matt and party, but I've got to spend some time with Kelly tonight because she deserves that and she needs that time, from me. So it's that's all we can do, right? Is do our best, try and fill our cups so that we can fill the cups of the people around us, right?
And it's a balance that I think everyone tries to find. Like you don't want to be selfish, but you also have to believe at the same time, if you want me to give you the best version of me, you gotta fill your cup. You gotta take care of some of the things that are important to you. And so I look at that, and you talk about friends, and like it's one of those things that you go through university and high school, and you get to see your friends every single day. And you get to a point in your life where maybe that becomes once a week, and then maybe even once a month. And with some people who live on the opposite side of the world, maybe you're seeing them for 2 weeks, once a year. And it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if this is important to me, how to incorporate this into my day-to-day without subtracting from what's already in there. And for me, the biggest saving grace for that has been doing things active and productive with my friends. So whether that's going for a run together, going for a walk together, doing a lift together, something where it's like, I was already going to do this in my day-to-day. Doing it with a friend makes it way more enjoyable, but also takes away from me to need to do another couple hour hangout with them at the same time. So when you'd come in, even if you couldn't lift, you would row, or if you couldn't run, you'd row or you'd bike or you'd lift, and I'd be on the treadmill right beside you. And it was one of those things saying, hey man, I need to get my mileage in. It's important to me, but I'd also love to get to see you. Let's pump some good tunes. Let's hang, let's talk, and let's just make this the most efficient hour of life.
Yeah. And I think there's some compromise too in those situations as well. Like I can think of situations because, if someone's going out of their way to try and make time for you and they're saying like, hey, I would love to do this, sometimes too, like we're lucky because we both love running and we both love doing stuff. So it's easy, right? But I'm sure there's situations where you have that friend who maybe doesn't want to sit on the rower or on the bike or do something, right? But maybe their thing is like, you know, going for a coffee or doing whatever. And it's like, I think too, there's been, you know, situations where I think you have to be able to, you know, and maybe not all the time, but, you know, go, okay, you know what, they're trying to make the time for me. Maybe I do need to just go have that coffee with them, right? And maybe
Yeah.
sacrifice my run because it is in a situation where you haven't seen that person in a long time, right? And you know that asking them to go on a run with you is not maybe going to put them in the best spot for their day. They especially if they're not trained in running, and it's going to cook them or something too, right? Like,
And truthfully, that like the person that I've been able to preserve, it's obviously a very important person in my life, but someone that I've been able to preserve a very special relationship is my mom.
mm-hmm,
And with my mom, I call her on my runs.
mm-hmm,
I put my AirPods in and we just talk, and it could be for 30 minutes, it could be for an hour, but she knows when she's getting a call from me, I'm most likely on a run.
yeah,
And it's one of those things that, again, with where my life is taking me, I don't get to see her as much as I'd like. But that doesn't mean I'm not thinking about her, and it doesn't mean that she's not important to me. But being able to throw the AirPods in, go for a cruisy run, and talk to her feels like she's there with me, running my pace the entire time. And it makes the run so much easier, so much more enjoyable, and has been a really effective way to preserve relationships with both my mom, but also some of my friends. When again, like I don't expect them to run with me, but if they keep me company on my run, I'm happy to listen to what's going on in their life.
yeah. That's a great little practical tip one. Like it can be kind of obvious, but I think probably people probably don't do it as much as you'd think. And so I think that's a really good practical tool. I might start using that. The only issue with me is that I'm frigging out and no reception anytime I'm running.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They'd cut reception with you 3 minutes in and just assume he's dead in the bush.
Yeah, I'm in a black box when I run. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I personally, like, I don't know about you, I actually like, I actually enjoy turning off the Wi-Fi to my phone when I run. It's actually a big thing for me. It's a little bit of this like worldly disconnect thing. Like when I'm out running, it's like, and I remember actually having a race where you had to have your phone turned on airplane mode. Um, and it was like your phone has to be on airplane mode, or it's like, you know, you're, you know, DQ'd. And I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I had my phone on airplane mode the whole time. So if the race organizers just want to DQ me now, go ahead. But I find like, I don't know, I want to go out there with the fact or the mindset of like, there's nothing in this world attached to me right now. And I can just like move through the land and just like breathe and be present in the run and do whatever, even though, yeah, you know, maybe it doesn't make that much of a difference having that little Wi-Fi connection, but I find it nice too to just like turn everything off, right?
And I think like if you think of people's sessions in the week, there are going to be some sessions that have distinct things you're chasing, targets, whether it's a tempo long run or whether it's a speed session. Those ones, like there's numbers associated with it that are important, and you want to be looking down at your watch to make sure that you're on pace, you're on target. But I also think there's some runs out there, for me and my recovery runs, and if I have 2 of those a week, that I don't care. I just want to float. I just want to bounce out there. I just want to feel the sun. I want to like just feel the air, just be out there and just literally just float.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the runs where you can just connect. I like to wear my minimalist shoes on those recovery days and just feel the ground, and just like there's things that running can bring you beyond just performance, and that disconnect, it's so spiritually freeing that I see that. And I live in a city. I feel like you're in the jungle, you're in the forest, you're in the mountains. And I could only imagine that would be multiplied by so many factors there, because you're in such a beautiful environment. You got mountains, I've got mansions. That's the difference.
I'll take the mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I think another thing that like about your kind of journey and process that I think would probably be counterintuitive to what we hear within current like social media of trail running and all of this, the running boom and culture that's happened, is that taking on more stress isn't always the right answer. But I think there is some nuances to that because we see, like I see in your situation perfectly, like you do these massive hours in your day, right? And you could bottle that up as go, oh, look at all the 16 hours of like work stress that he's taking on. And then in his spare time, instead of doing nothing where he should be recovering because he's, trying to train and do whatever, I'm going for a run, right? Like I'm putting more stress on the body. But for you, and the way you visualize it is actually something that, especially like maybe not when you're doing your speed sessions, but when you're doing that easy run and bouncing around through the day, it probably does decrease some of the stress levels in your body, even though it is more stress, as we call it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I feel like people hear the term stress and they think cortisol and getting fat and getting worse and the body breaking down. And I look at it and think any degree of movement is positive for the body.
Mhm.
As you get to elite levels of fitness, which I would consider myself a sub-elite athlete, according to Puma standards. I think that
You're just not wearing their Fast R3 yet. Yeah.
no, exactly. I think that any movement is positive. Just to get outside, like to me, sitting in a chair, which you'll get the longest time of me sitting in the chairs during this talk conversation. To me, sitting in a chair is poisonous and it's punishment. And the moment I get outside, it's like seeing a puppy go outside for the first time in the day. They're just so happy. They want to chase everything and pee their pants at the exact same time. And I don't know. I think the way that I perceive things is it's such a privilege and a joy to get to be outside and to get to move. I love it. It makes me feel good. It makes me happy. And it only brings good things to my day. When I come back from a run, especially the easy and the recovery runs, I feel so uplifted. I feel so full. I feel so satisfied with all the joy and pleasure that's come to my life. And so when I'm in a session and I know my next hour is a run, I'm giddy. I'm excited because I'm like, oh, it's movement is my favorite part of the day every single day. And I've yet to feel otherwise than that. I also think I've put myself in a workplace where I don't consider it stressful. So even though it's long days, every single hour, I get to have a positive impact in someone's day. And if that's in personal training and I'm listening to things that are going on, I'm trying to help them with movements that can put them in the best position to succeed and live their best life, more times than not, they're leaving feeling better than they did coming in. And then you do that in a group setting where you got 40, 50 people in the class. And that same thing where people might come in feeling okay. And then you put them through a workout and they're on top of the world. They feel fantastic. That's really addicting. And I think you think of different love languages. I'm a sucker for words of affirmation. And when I hear someone say, Mike, that was the best workout. Mike, that felt so good. Mike, you're the best trainer. Mike, I love doing your classes. I'm not sitting there and being like, this is 14 really tough hours. I'm sitting there and thinking, I could do 18 hours if I wanted to. I would be divorced, but I could do it. And I don't know. I just find there's so many things in my day to day that are so fun, so uplifting, and I find so much joy, fulfillment, and satisfaction from them that the word stress to me doesn't come my way. The only stress that I get is if the Leafs are up, I let go.
Yeah, I've seen those moments of Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only time cortisol is coming out your ears.
Exactly. But other than that, I don't know. I think I just perceive things as like a joy, a pleasure, a reward. And I think that it's really helped me just appreciate all the good that my life has to offer. And I don't know. Oftentimes in class, I'll tell people it's like the day you see stress or panic on my face, we're fucked.
Yeah. Run
We're
for the
fucked.
hills. Run.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope to never take life too serious. I hope to always to be able to find the joy and the positives in any situation. And even on the hard days, like I'll get out there and there's days where my legs self-identify as cinder blocks. And on those days, all I think of is, all right, it's going to take less to elicit the same response.
Yeah.
And that took time to realize, but it's like, hey, if let's say for my speed work, I want to hit 330-kilometer repeats, and there's a day where I feel slow, heavy, tired. At that point, it's like, all right, maybe 340, maybe 345 is going to do the trick. And I'm not pricking myself, but I bet you it would take less speed to elicit the same response from the body.
Yeah.
At those points, it's like, all right, ride the wave.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You're getting that same physiological response from the heart rate and everything else, right? And you're getting a more productive one if you're slowing down, because if you were to hit those 330s, it would be like your first marathon again.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? You can't fight it. Your body is going to hand you the cards every single day, and I'll look at them. I'll be like, all right, sure. And even within my day, it can evolve. So oftentimes I don't have time to do all of my mileage in one run, especially Monday to Friday during the week. Like if today I had 15K, even if I'm cruising at a 5-minute kilometer, 15K would take me north of an hour. And I don't often have all of that time at once. So I look and it's like, all right, it's going to be a 7 and an 8. If I waited for the perfect opportunity to get out there, I would never get out there. And one runner that I actually love so much is Jakob Ingebrigtsen. And he just came back from pretty much a year of recovering from injury.
18 months.
And
it's hectic. Yeah.
And guess what? He came back. He made a post beforehand saying, if I waited for the perfect opportunity and the perfect level of fitness, I would have never returned. And he came back, and guess what? He won.
Yeah. Took it.
But the other thing that I was going to say about that is what's cool is sometimes I'll do a morning run and an evening run, and they could be a tale of two tapes. I could do the morning run and feel like absolute dog shit. I just feel like I'm dragging out there, and it's like nothing good is happening right now. And then I go out in the evening and I feel fantastic. And there's some days where both runs are great, but there's also some days where both runs aren't so good. And it just, your body is going to tell you what it can do. And when you accept it and take it for what it's worth, you'll be fine. Frustration really starts to grow when we expect something that's just not possible.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's a super valuable piece of advice for people to take on, especially in this running boom area that we're in. One question I have about that for you is, do you ever feel like there's days where you have to work to, maybe not work, but like you have to put some sort of mental effort in to keeping the positivity and the joy? Do you feel like there's a degree of that, or do you feel like it's just completely natural, it feels easy, or do you feel like sometimes it needs to be fostered? Maybe not in a big way, but just in small mental ways of fostering that positivity and that energy?
I think that I have a troubleshooting sequence ready to go if I'm feeling that way. So like regular status quo is I just go out for my run and I'm happy. And if there's ever days where it's either harder to get out the door, whether I feel tired, I feel unmotivated, maybe I know that there's other things that are coming my way. There's things that I do that I think can give me a little boost when I need it. And obviously calling a friend, Nickelback, absolutely. Yeah. I can go from a 6:30 minute per kilometer to a 2:30 minute per kilometer with animals coming on.
Of course. Yeah, I expect nothing
But
less.
stuff like music, calling a friend, sometimes I'll just take a shot of maple syrup and like convince myself that it's a secret sauce. It's a special
God's
syrup
nectar.
that's gonna take me to the planet. When I came to Sydney for the marathon, I brought my own maple syrup,
Yeah.
and it helped. But even things as simple as like race outfits, like I've got certain outfits that I classify as my fast outfits, and so I've got like regular day fitness clothes, but I've got like fast boy clothes where I put these on. It's like I am fast when I put these on. And the same thing applies to shoes. I've got my regular trainers, but I've also got my like special occasion. Like these are for races or special speed sessions. And sometimes it's like, all right, I need to do it. Like I'll be in a situation it's like, okay, I need to get out the door. I'm throwing on my Boston singlet and my Vaporflies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I feel special and it's the boost I need to just get out the door. And once I'm out the door, I feel fine.
Yeah. I think super shoes are a very powerful, like motivational booster. Like I find the same thing. Like I look back to my speed sessions over the last like 3 years, and there's only been one session that stood out to me ever. That like I was like, that was a bad session. Like, yes, there's been the really goods and the okay, could have been better kind of things, but I always like to look at those as like, man, I still ran fast. Like, how sick is this? And so I never
Yeah.
really look at it as a bad session, even if it was maybe a couple seconds slower per kilometer or whatever. I go, it's still quick. But there was one session that was truly bad. But I find a big part of that is, like you said, that clothes of throwing on. Like when I throw on the super shoes for a speed session, I don't know, something about just like popping those shoes on. It's like, can't be a bad day now. We're going to run quick. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think those are like little strategies that I have that if I'm not in the most positive or energetic mood can put me into that place pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that, man. You know what, man? I think that's I don't know if we can say much more awesome stuff than that. I mean, I'm sure we could. We could go on for days, but I think we'll leave it with, if you're to give people 2 to 3 pieces of advice that you think, based on your experience, would help them through their training, through their life, through just their overall fulfillment of their weeks, what would be those 2 to 3 things that you would say to them?
I think the first one would be about making it fun. It's like it doesn't seem as hard or daunting of work when you're having fun. And you can make it fun in your own ways. Again, whether it's doing it with friends, buying yourself that fun outfit, signing yourself up for a race, traveling. Like for me, like training was so much more motivating when I started traveling to race. And so I think that making it fun, however that looks for you, has got to be step one, is make it fun.
Put
It's
your
not fun. You're not going to do.
put your license in a hat and pick each other's clothes at Value Village, right? That kind of fun.
That's the kind of fun, even if the bouncers decide that your night's going to end prematurely. That's their loss. That's their loss.
My big word for that, it's one of the symbols of the goat, is revelry, right? That, life doesn't have to be so serious and you can throw a party anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. Go ahead, continue. Yeah.
No, so yeah, that's the first one, is I think it's got to be fun. The next one I'd say is like it's all about keeping it simple. I think that the online world is trying to convince you that there's something extra complicated that you need to do to be able to see the change that you're looking to. So if you're chasing a goal, you need to try this thing that represents 0.01% of the reason why you're going to get better, but you got to do it or else you're not going to hit it. And I think that the online world oftentimes capitalizes on the vulnerable who are would do anything to see their dreams come true. And for mine, that was chasing Boston. And I think that after just living so much over the last 10 years of racing and getting to help other people in their journeys as well, there's no secret recipe to success. It's doing the simple, basic things of your eat, sleep, exercise. Like sleep well, do your best with nutrition, like try your best, but I'm not a poster boy of perfection. Um, so it's just simple, execute the simple things well, and you will achieve everything that you're looking to achieve. Don't let someone convince you that it's got to be complicated. If you don't understand it, there's a better likelihood that they're trying to make you feel, they're trying to knock you down a couple pegs to make you feel like you need them to succeed, rather than just saying, hey, if you peaked at 70 this time, peak at 75 next time. If it went well, build 5. If it didn't build well, maybe take 5 off or hold the line until you have a successful build. Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. And that's something that I think my training embodies, is like, I've been doing kilometer repeats for 10 years. I just try and do them. A little bit faster each time.
Yeah.
And that's just simple basics, running a little bit more every single time. So keep it simple. And I think the last one probably leans into the first one, is it's got to be, you got to be consistent. You got to stick to it. You got to lean into, really zero in on what's important to you, and stick to it. I think that in this gym setting or in the fitness world, people want to be good at everything. They want to be able to bench 3 plates, but they also want to be able to run a sub 3-hour marathon. And I'm not saying that that's impossible, but oftentimes the training for both of those kinds of things contradict each other and pull you in opposite directions. And I think the greatest amount of success I've ever experienced was when I would zero in on one thing that's the most important to me at this given time, and going all in on it for that given period. So if it's 4 months of going all in on the marathon, I'm okay that my strength might take a little bit of hit in that time, because the marathon's the most important thing. But then after that really fast, one of the 2:48 marathons that I did, after that, I had a month and a half to build to my wedding. And I was not in a physique to fill my suit. And so for that month and a half, I completely leaned into strength. That didn't mean I didn't run, but during that month and a half, lifting, building muscle, putting on some size was the most important thing to me. And in that month and a half, I actually did, I think, a pretty good job putting on some of the size that I had during marathon training. And all of that came from just knowing what's the most important thing to me right now, and zeroing in on that, not trying to be good at 10 different things, which I remember from your first podcast, you kind of said, it's like, you were the kid that liked to do a bunch of different things. And I think as a kid, that's super, super important. As we become older, if you want to get really good at something, you got to zero in on it.
Yeah. 10,000 hours, become the master. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Putting in the work.
That's it. No, I love that, man. One thing we haven't really stood by, which, I've got to give you that opportunity, is you said you'd talk about Kelly. So tell us a little bit about your amazing partner that's by your side.
She is the best. My favorite human in this entire world, and someone that I would easily say is one of the greatest success stories that I've ever got to witness. And you grow up hoping that your wife is going to be your best friend, and you want to be their number one cheerleader. And just the way she is, it's so easy. It's so easy. I don't have to try to cheer her on. And so she came to watch me at my first marathon, and she was at the finish line. And that hug at the finish line was something that I'll close my eyes and it can take me back to that place. And it was just so powerful, so special. And I cherish that memory forever. And I remember maybe a month or 2 later, she sent me a post with invisible ink, which anytime I get a picture with invisible ink, it's one of 2 things: either something that's going right into the hidden album, or a race that she just signed us up for. And so she had signed us up for a marathon, and that was going to be her first marathon.
Yeah.
And so we trained, we built a program, we trained together for some of it. We did some sessions together, some sessions we did separately. And in her first marathon, was able to run a time fast enough to, it was ironically enough fast enough to apply to Boston, but at that time, we didn't think it was fast enough to get into Boston just based off of the cutoff time. So we had actually signed up for another race that I was going to run with her because I felt confident with my time. And we ran that race together. And her first marathon was a 3:20. Might even be in a 3:21. Might have been a 3:20. But all that to say is we felt like that was dangerously close to where the cutoff would have been. And so we trained for the next race. And we felt like in her training that she probably had a 3:10, 3:15 in her. And we show up to race day and it's cold, windy, and rainy. And we showed up late. And so like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong that day. And it would have been easy for us to just throw in the towel and be like, let's hope that your other race is fast enough. This isn't our day. And we showed up. We gave everything we had. We only beat her previous best by 11 seconds. So instead of beating it by 5 to 10 minutes, we beat it by 11 seconds.
Yeah.
At the moment, we were pretty bummed with the outcome. We didn't feel like the outcome reflected how awesome her training and build were.
Yeah.
When we got the news about Boston, and I'll get emotional talking about because when she called me, it was just crazy. She had gone from just seconds behind to seconds into Boston. That 11 seconds was the difference of her not getting into Boston and getting into Boston. And so in the moment when we ran St. Lawrence and she fell short of what we felt like she was capable of, we were heartbroken and we were bummed and we were frustrated. There's a lot of emotions that day. But in September, when we found out that it was everything she needed to get in, it felt so powerful. It felt larger than life. And it felt like something that was just meant to be greater than what we could have ever explained. And so that was the coolest moment. And I remember when she called me and told us that we got in, it was the happiest day of my life. Like I know that everyone expects our wedding and our like engagement to be that moment. But when we found out that we got in, for both of us, that was the happiest day of our lives. And this past April, we got to run Boston together. And I remember I had started my race 30 minutes before her, and we had an idea that we were going to be about 30 minutes apart. So I knew I was going to have to wait for about an hour, but I had my phone at the finish line and I was tracking her, and it would show her estimated time. And we wanted her to PB, even though we knew that it was a hard course. Yeah. And her PB was 3:20 at that time. And so I look at the time and it said estimated finish time 3:21. And I'm thinking, shit, like it, not good. And then she hits the next marker and now it's 3:20. And I'm like, all right, we're in this race. And then she hits the next marker and it's 3:19. And then hits the next marker and it's 3:18. And I remember standing at the finish line and the volunteers like, oh, you got to go. Like there's so many people coming through. You got to funnel through. And I'm like, I'm tracking my wife. She's in her last kilometer. No one's moving me from the finish line. And she came through at 3:17, had the strongest negative split I've ever seen, destroyed her personal best at Boston. And I got to hug her at the finish line there. And that, to me, at this point in my life, was the greatest moment of my life. Seeing my wife cross the finish line at Boston as well as she did, going through some of the challenges along the way that she did, was the most amazing moment of my life. And I have no doubt we're going to continue to have more highs and highs. But that's the why. That's the why we do this. It was so powerful. It was so emotional. We've got some really cool like photos and memories from the finish line together to cherish forever. But that's something that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And I'm so grateful for that. Is, she is the best.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. It make me cry. Yeah. That was man, that's so cool. It's crazy how powerful like something so simple as a race can be, hey? Like the memories, the motives behind it. Like that's the exact same. Like when you were explaining the story, like in my head, I was thinking about the Causey 100K finish of everything it built to, and seeing Britt and the girls at the finish line and stuff. And it's like, you know, it can be such a powerful memory and moment, and it's so awesome to be able to hold on to that, right? And
Yeah.
use that in your life moving forward, and looking forward to other moments like that. And it's crazy. I think that's why we have such connection to this running and trail running kind of world, is because it's a lot more powerful than I think we give it credit for sometimes. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's the power that it's shown me and the emotions it can pull out of me are just something that I want everyone to feel. I don't care where they get it from, but I hope that everyone finds something that powerful and meaningful to them in their life.
Yeah. Couldn't even get that sitting on the couch with Dr. Phil, eh?
Man, this is the best. I appreciate you so much. This is such a high
Yeah.
in my day.
No, this was this was such a great conversation. There is a lot of really cool things to dissect from this, and for people listening, I hope you're able to find something in there that's going to bring the same zest and excitement and energy that Mike gets out of his days and his life with his family and friends. And so yeah, man, if people are ever like, hey, I've got questions or I want to find out more about you, how would they get a hold of you?
So Instagram is probably the best one. I've got my handle trainer_Mike93. If they want to reach out online, if they're in the Ottawa area, whether they live here or visiting, our community at the Fitness Lab is something special. We're a family. We're people that, again, embody a lot of the similar values that it's like, hey, when we come together, we're going to move, we're going to work hard, but we're going to have fun. We're going to support each other, and we're going to leave feeling fantastic. And when you bring a collection of people like that together, something incredible can happen. And that's what I get to live every single day. And it's what I look forward to when you come back every Christmas.
That's it. I'm gonna have to come do one of your classes in person at some point with everyone. Get
That's
part of
why
the
I'm
energy.
holding your that's why I'm holding your rubber boots hostage till you come back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, classic. Man, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for giving us this time. I know everyone who is listening to this will definitely be appreciative of your time as well. So, say hi to Kelly and the boys for me. Take care of yourself, and chat soon, man.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate getting to be a part of this, and you say hi to the family for me.
Of course.
All right.
And that was my chat with Mike Del Giudice. If you're still here and you've made it this far, then chances are you enjoyed that story and that podcast. And I would recommend you then to share it with someone else, because I know there was a lot to dissect through that chat. And I'm actually excited to go back and listen to it again, because I think we pulled apart a lot of really cool topics that can really help a lot of people navigate their life on just, how to deal with things, how to look at things to make life feel a little bit easier and to help you just reach your goals. And so if you enjoyed it, please like, follow, subscribe, share it with your friends. The more that we can do this, the more I'll be able to invite these amazing people on to keep, sharing these awesome stories with you guys. So yeah, thank you for listening, and happy trails.